Going to begin with the words, for him, mind's limiting firmament ceased above. Are we all there?
Yeah.
There it is. There it is. We got it now. Very, very good. Okay. So let's concentrate for a moment and pray that the beauty and force and mantra of Savitri enter our souls, and we open in this to Sri Aurobindo and receive what he has given us. Mother says that everything else he has written was only like a preface. Savitri is his real work. I know that's difficult for some of us to understand. Those of us who love the essays on the Gita, the synthesis of yoga, the life divine, the Vedas, but Savitri is the clue. We begin with the line, for him mind's limiting firmament ceased above. Well, we know what the firmament is. And it is true that the mind has great limitations. And Sri Aurobindo covers this in depth in his works. And the word firmament simply means the vault or the expanse of the heavens, the sky, in fact. And then he gives us a very, very unique and almost difficult line to understand. In the griffin forefront of the night and day. Those of you who know about this griffin, it was a fabulous beast with the head and wings of an eagle and the body of a lion. And for me, the forefront is the foremost part or area or place, the position of the greatest importance. So this griffin forefront comes with the night and the day. And it is, why did Sri Aurobindo choose the word griffin, a beast? I believe that he was comparing the forefront of the night and the day. And if you'll notice, he capitalizes here night and day, which means for us the essence of the thing. And then he continues. You see, we've only done 2 lines so far. And we could even go deeper, but this is enough for today. So a gap was rent in the all-concealing vault. Well, now he uses the word vault, which is also the firmament, the vault of heaven. And a gap was torn in it. To rent something, R-E-N-T, in this definition, is to tear apart, split, divided. It obviously, it's also used figuratively, but to tear apart, a gap was torn apart in this all-concealing vault. And what happened as a result of that? The conscious ends of being went rolling back. The landmarks of the little person fell. So falling from him are these conscious ends of being and these landmarks of his smaller self, the little person. Now, landmarks are usually defined in the first instance The correct definition, however, is one, prominent identifying features of a landscape. But two is events marking important stages of development. Although we can understand that the first also has the feeling of a particular area, here the mark of the previous consciousness. So all these landmarks in him fell. The conscious ends of being went rolling back. It's a powerful, powerful moment in his sadhana, because the next line tells us, oh, the island ego joined its continent. So we have first the landmarks and then the island ego. And certainly the ego is an island surrounded by infinity. Now, here it has joined its continent, and the continent is the divine presence. Overpast was this world of rigid, limiting forms. Aswapati even overpassed the worlds in which we see everything as forms, and they are always limiting. I think I told you perhaps last week that many years ago I received, well, how can I call it a message? It was more than a message. It was almost an adesh, a command. And I translated it, and I've used it for many years. I will never judge a man or a woman until I can see their soul. And when I can see their soul, there will be no reason to judge. So he overpasses this world of rigid, limiting forms. And once, during a time when I was being severely criticized for taking financial assistance for the Matrimandir Gardens, that quote came to me. And I realized that all is the mother's work. And if we just follow her example, her guidance, everything will open for us. And now he's past this world of limiting forms, rigid limiting forms, and life's barriers opened into the unknown. What can we truly see? Behind all things and all people, there is a truth which is imperceptible to the outer consciousness, that sees only garments and not a face, to paraphrase Sri Aurobindo. If we could truly see, then these barriers of life would open into the new and the unknown. Abolished were conception's covenants. Well, so we have two words here that need to be understood a little clearer. A conception is something conceived in the mind, a concept, a plan, a design, an idea, or a thought. And a covenant is a binding agreement, a compact. So these are abolished in Aswapati. He no longer has any concept or plan or design or idea, because the island ego has joined with its continent. And these covenants, these binding agreements, these habits, in fact, that we make ourselves have now been abolished in him. And striking off subjection's rigorous clause. Oh, this is a powerful, powerful line. Because subjection actually means also that one is bound to it. One has given oneself to it. And a rigorous clause, harsh, strict, severe, precise, in fact, rigidly accurate. So he has been able to strike off this clause that's in our human selves, in which we agree to things that we know are not truly ourselves. A clause, of course, is a distinct article, a stipulation, or a provision, usually in a document. Here it's live. And then this line, annulled the soul's treaty with nature's nescience. Now, nature here is capitalized. Very, very important. There are a number of definitions for the word annulled, but the one that we are looking for here is to make void or null, to abolish, to cancel, to invalidate, to declare invalid. So the soul's treaty with nature's nescience. And we have something from the Life Divine which I would like to share with you. Sri Aurobindo writes, and again, nescience, absence of knowledge or awareness, ignorance. Sri Aurobindo says, nescience in nature is the complete self-ignorance. And again, he capitalizes nature. And again, we should listen to this. Nature is the complete self-ignorance. That is nescience in nature. So he has annulled his soul's treaty with nature's nescience. Very, very important point. And to continue, all the gray inhibitions were torn off. We have to tear off so many of these gray inhibitions in us. So let me first talk about these two words and then a little bit more. Figuratively, gray means dismal or dark, especially from lack of light. But it also means dull, dreary, or monotonous. And it can also be understood as a neutral tone, intermediate between black and white, that has no hue and reflects and transmits only a little light. And of course, inhibitions are the conscious or unconscious restraint of a behavioral process, a desire, or an impulse. And these gray inhibitions in us are powerful forces, very, very difficult to dislodge, very difficult to transform. And in fact, many of them are so impossible, seemingly impossible to transform, that our only possibility is to offer them to the Divine Mother for transformation. Now with Aswapati, all of these gray inhibitions were torn off. And even the intellect's hard and lustrous lid was broken. So the next line, and broken the intellect's hard and lustrous lid. Lustrous means having a sheen or a glow, gleaming with, or as if with brilliant light, radiant, shining, luminous. Yes, we are so proud of the intellect, and yet, what do we really know? Nothing. Until we rise out of the normal mind and out of the physical mind into the region far above the higher and the illumined mind, into the intuitive, and then overmind, and finally into the supermind. So we don't know anything right now. Yes, we may think we know, we may have attained a great deal of knowledge, we may have a particular expertise in a certain area of science or mathematics or philosophy, but we don't know anything until we are at least into the intuitive mind, or then the leap into the overmind, and finally the supermind. And now, the next line. Truth unpartitioned found immense sky room. Well, unpartitioned means not divided or sectioned off. So truth now has found in him immense sky room, so vast. And what does the next line tell us? An Empyrean vision saw and knew. Oh, this Empyrean vision, the highest heaven supposed by the ancients to contain the pure element of fire. It may also be defined as heavenly. And so the mind that was once bounded became a boundless light. The bounded mind became a boundless light. Now, bounded means simply having the limits or the boundaries established. So if we are bound, or we are in boundaries where we can't progress further, as much of the world is, because through our many masks that we wear, we have established an ego persona. And that ego is definitely bounded. It's very difficult to break out of it. And only those who have had the blessing, and I say very strongly, the blessing, not alone of just meeting Mother or Sri Aurobindo, but of bringing Mother and Sri Aurobindo and the integral yoga into their life and consciousness. You cannot realize right now what a great blessing this is. In all of the billions of people in the world, there are so few who have aspired for this. Okay, the next line. The finite self mated with infinity. So this finite self mates with infinity, joins with, matches or marries, connects or links with infinity. And then his march now soared into an eagle's flight. Well, if you look up in the letters of yoga, you will see that the eagle is a very special bird. But right now I'd like to concentrate on the word his march, because most of us are proceeding forward with baby steps. And Aswapati is going forward like a march. Out of apprenticeship to ignorance, and all of us have to grow out of this apprenticeship to ignorance. Wisdom upraised him to her master craft. So we see that wisdom raises him to her master craft. That is one who is eminently skilled in something and becomes a master of it. So we have master's degrees, but we also have masters in education in all fields. We can have a master blacksmith. We can have a master of the violin, a master of so many things, of words. And so wisdom upraised him, lifted him up to her master craft, and made him, the next line, and made him an archmason of the soul. This is a very important word, this archmason, and Sri Aurobindo uses it very, very carefully. Archmason is usually spelled as two words, but archmason is simply a master builder. So wisdom, using her master craft, makes him a master builder. But what is he going to build? Next line, a builder of the immortal's secret house. So now we see the connection. From apprenticeship to ignorance, wisdom raises him up to her master craft, making him a master builder of the soul and a builder of the immortal's secret house. Notice here the word immortal, capital I. And what is the secret house? Is it the soul, the supermind? Perhaps not yet, because he is still an aspirant to timelessness. But Vladimir, perhaps you could tell us a bit about the secret house?
By the way, in the first hymn of the Rig Veda, if we compare with the Vedas, it is said when Agni is invoked. So you remember, we already mentioned this. I seek the divine flame with adoration. And it is said that in the second half of the hymn, that he is the one Vardhamanam Svedame, who is growing in his own home. So,
Yes.
what is this his own home? I'm most probably it is manifestation, is his home. It has to be his home more and more. It becomes his home more and more. Of course, his home is transcendental, but in the sacrifice, it is viewed that he is brought here, he is invoked here, he is the immortal among mortals. And so our mortal house, he's the guest of our house.
Yes.
And then he becomes who? He just grows in his own home. Well, it's very intuitive and futuristic, future-oriented.
Very much so. So we're going to close with 4 more lines. And Those lines are continuing from a builder of the immortal's secret house, an aspirant to supernal timelessness. Well, we've covered often supernal. We know what an aspirant is. And then I believe there's a colon. Yes, there's a colon after timelessness. And timelessness has a capital T, the essence of it. Freedom and empire call to him from on high. Above mind's twilight and life's star-led night, there gleamed the dawn of a spiritual day. So there is the gleam of the dawn of a spiritual day, but it's just a gleam of the dawn. So much more is to come. We will stop here for today. As Sri Aurobindo has indicated, a small break. And I have always recommended to others that when we are reading Savitri, we come upon a small break, to be silent for a few moments, because Sri Aurobindo is now going to lead us into another experience. And we have a few minutes. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask them. Then let us close with a concentration on Sri Aurobindo's greatest gift to us as a poet and as an avatar, Savitri. Namaste, everyone.